Yo, 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 what's up? It's your girl, Abigail. Welcome back to the Alchemical Life podcast, or welcome. If you don't know me, my name's Abigail Crow. I am a strength performance coach. I've been training for over half a decade. I've trained people from Joe Schmo to 9-year-olds to guys who are currently playing in the NFL now. Lots of both Gen Pop and athletic populations. I specialize now more in training endurance running clients and athletes. And today I am here to convince you people as to why strength training can directly and indirectly improve running performance, why it's necessary, why the heck you need to do it. But first, let me pay the dues. I've got one-on-one coaching online and in person. Link will be down below if you're interested in working with me. Obviously, if you've not heard this podcast and you're like, I don't even know who you are, girl. Ignore this until the end and then maybe go back and click the link down below. But I also have programs, one-time purchase programs. I have a Return to Sport, a Go Further, and a Be Unstoppable program, all for the runner who is either returning to sport after a long time off or injury, who is currently in a building phase, that would be the Go Further program, and who is in season, in peak season, racing, running all kinds of mileage, just needs to maintain overall function and strength in their body. That would be the Be Unstoppable program. They're $50. They include the entire training plan, video links to everything, sets, reps, rest period, all that good stuff. It comes with a full modification list so you can make the exercises harder or easier if you need. And it also comes with a full cueing log, and that cueing log has like extended cut videos of me basically being a personal trainer in your pocket, helping you out, giving you extra cues, tips, tricks for the exercises if the video demo that's already there is not enough. So pretty much a steal. Don't know what to tell you. You should buy it. Link down below. But also like, subscribe if you're listening to this. Give me a little review. I think that's it. Yeah, I've paid the dues, and now we're gonna get into convincing you guys why you need to strength train. So then later you can click the link down below. So I think that I don't know why it is so commonplace for endurance athletes, for runners in particular, to not strength train, and why strength training gets so shit on, so poo-pooed in the running community, because every other sport, it is just like common knowledge, common practice. You strength train as well. Like you do your sport and you also go and you train in the weight room, and we get better at things. We work on power and speed and agility and strength and stability and all these kinds of things. And it's just normal. And, unless we're arguing that running is not a sport, which that's not my hill I'm going to die on. Unless we're arguing that endurance training is not a sport, then it needs to be a thing. We need to strength train to help us with the sport. So why do we do it? Okay, well, first reason is running's going to help strength training is going to help improve your running mechanics. And a lot of people think it's the opposite. A lot of people think strength training is going to make me bulky and weird, and then some of my mechanics are going to get crappy, and then I'm going to be a terrible runner, and then I'm going to just blah. And if you have a terrible strength coach, this is the case. I mean, if you have poor programming, or if you have a strength coach that doesn't know what they're doing, then this could actually be the case. They can make it worse. They can mess you up worse. But if you have a good coach who runs a solid program, then they are going to make things, a whole world of better for you. And it is just something that you need to do. And why is this the case? Well, when we strength train, we are learning movement. When we run, we are expressing movement. And we're doing it repetitively across time with a lot more force placed on the body for longer durations. And that would be what we call a more chaotic environment, right? We're introducing, higher levels of volume, higher amounts of fatigue, longer durations, aka volume, greater intensities. We're moving really fast. And if you're a trail runner, like, don't even get me started in terms of the actual chaos that is the literal environment that you're running on. But that is a chaotic environment. When we're in the strength training room, we can work on creating skill in a safer, less chaotic environment. And why is it, Abigail, that we need to strength train in order to go and run better, right? Okay, I get you. You're like, okay, safe environment, chaotic environment. Well, when you're in this safe environment and we're learning movement, what we're doing when we're doing certain lifts is we're actually learning how to get certain muscles to fire and function in a particular way so that when we go and express them out in the run, they are doing their job more efficiently. So this will actually help you when you run, because instead of running with maybe some compensatory patterns or in very inefficient ways, we're not using the path of least resistance, which is what our body tends to take whenever we're doing something like that. The path of least resistance now becomes the path that is optimal and that is functional. And that is going to help you in your training long term, because it's going to create greater resilience in training, and it's going to create longer longevity, and it's going to hopefully, ideally, mitigate potential pain, overuse injuries, acute injuries, aches, that kind of thing. When we strength train in this safe environment, what is it that we're really trying to do? We're trying to improve function, we're trying to whatever, but what does this mean exactly? Well, there are certain muscles that are surrounding the rib cage and the pelvis, the upper and the lower body, that we can work on creating strength in and do it in a functional way so that the body just moves more synergistically. For example, around the pelvis, we have muscles around the hips and we have muscles around the legs, like the adductors, those inner thighs, our quadriceps, our glutes. And those all help create stability in our gait cycle. So when we walk and when we run, and also create stability around the pelvis itself. Our core, for example, is a primary stabilizer of the pelvis. So when we train the function of the core properly, we can create stability around the pelvis. And that's going to help us absorb and produce force better when we run more efficiently. Around the upper body, right, we have the lats, we have the delts, we have the biceps, we have the triceps, we have our pecs, we have our serratus. This being said, so around the shoulder and rib cage, I apologize. But around the rib cage in particular, right, let's think like serratus, and let's think obliques, and let's think lats. All of these things help stabilize the rib cage and the pelvis, because they help stabilize the lumbar spine. They help create core stability, they are core muscles, and those core muscles will help create stability around the pelvis. And then the serratus is kind of like the upper body for obliques, which is involved in that protraction of the scapula, and that scapular movement is going to be really important when we run, to create some fluidity in our run in general, so that we're not so stiff when we run. So all of these things, right, we're going to train in the weight room, whether it be, a dumbbell row, a pull-up, a protraction plank, an actual plank variation, a trap bar deadlift. All of these things are going to strengthen those muscles and work on the function, improving the function of those muscles, so that when you recover and then you go run, you're running better. So it improves your running mechanics. Another thing is, the more muscle that we have, there is obviously a cap to that, where we can be too muscular and a little bit too, I don't like using the word bulky, but we can have more muscle than is required for optimal running, for endurance training. And that's obviously not ideal, because we still want to make sure that we're getting, oh man, sorry for the notification, guys. We want to make sure that we have fibers, muscle fibers, that are working best for the event that we're training for, which is endurance training. But having a little bit more muscle mass on our body can be really helpful. One, just for longevity in terms of like quality of life, bone mineral density, that kind of thing. But also having a little bit more muscle can help with us, because whenever you're running, you're going to have bouts of training where you're going to have to produce a little bit more power, whether you're going up a hill, or you're on a really hard trail, or you're, finishing the end of the race and we're shifting gears and we're going really hard. All of those things are going to shift your energy systems from potentially an aerobic to a more high intensity aerobic system, or an anaerobic energy system. And that is going to be trained, strangely enough, in strength training. So the more power that we can, if we can add a little bit more muscle mass and we can train those energy systems, those anaerobic energy systems a little bit, and we can also have some of those type 2 muscle fibers in our body, we are going to be better or more efficiently able to kick it into that next gear on a hard training run. And I think a lot of people don't really pay much mind to that, but in any race that you do, there's going to be a time in which you're going to need to operate in a higher intensity energy system. And when you're endurance running, you might be more aerobic, right? Or in an oxidative energy system. But there's going to be moments when you're going to need to be in an anaerobic or very, very high intensity energy system. And so strength training is very, very, very important for that. Another reason strength training is important is because, hold on. We want to make sure that I'm returning to my notes so that I don't totally lose my mind here. We want to stay injury free. And I'm not saying that strength training is going to make you injury free, but it can definitely help prevent injury. There was a meta-analysis done, and a meta-analysis is basically like the freaking king of all studies. They take a bunch of studies, and then they study those studies, and then they create a study from those studies, concluding something awesome. And in this meta-analysis, they found, in quote, strength training reduced sports injuries to less than 1/3, and overuse injuries could be almost halved. I'm going to say that again because it's very important. Strength training reduced sports injuries to less than 1/3, and overuse injuries could be almost halved. This is crucial for endurance athletes because most runners, when they're getting hurt, it's going to be an overuse injury. It's going to be some kind of, muscle strain or tendon pain or just chronic dull because of overuse. So stress fractures, for example, shin splints, tendinopathy, those kinds of things. So runners are the huge, that's the primary form of injury with runners is these things. And why strength training does this is because when we improve stability in the body, when we improve strength in the body, and we do this properly, we have better overall biomechanics. We move better. And then we can handle greater training volumes. And we can do this for longer, right? Because when our body is performing and moving in a way that's actually beneficial to us and efficient, then we can do a lot more with this. Also having more strength, we can generate more power. That means we can push harder in our training with less effort. So your engine, your output is higher. And that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the anaerobic energy systems and the type 2 muscle fibers and all of these things, is we are going to be better able to shift gears whenever we have to get a little bit more intense in the run, go a little bit harder in the run, or put out a little bit more in the run. And you're going to be able to do this and not be on that struggle bus so hard. You're not going to have that bonking feeling quite as much in the legs, in the lower extremities. And then another reason is it helps with tendon resilience, right? So tendon stiffness, which in this case, tendon stiffness is actually ideal. This is not a bad thing. Tendon stiffness is a good thing. We have better elastic capabilities. This is going to improve performance and give us less interrupted seasons. And that is probably the thing that I have clients come to me the most about, is they're just like, man, this race got totally messed up for me. My season got totally messed up for me because of this nagging back pain, hip pain, shin pain, calf pain, what else? God, we could go on, and hamstring pain. And when we can properly strength train, we're not just training the muscles, right? We're also working on these musculotendinous relationships. We're working on training the tendon. What is happening? We're working on training the tendons and also improving how much force is being placed on the tendon, on the muscle when we are running and moving through space for long periods of time. And so if we can create better tendon resilience, then we're going to experience less of these chronic overuse injuries that we see a lot in training. And we're also going to be more efficient with where force is, or how the body absorbs and produces force in all of the runs that we're taking. So, what are some things I can do right now, Abigail? Because you're telling me all this stuff, cool, good, love that. But I don't know, you keep saying properly programmed strength training. What is properly programmed strength training? Well, one, you can check out the links down below. Or two, you can also start right now by doing things like a single leg RDL with a knee drive. This is going to help improve lateral hip stability. I have all of these things video linked on my YouTube channel. So if you're watching this on my YouTube channel, just check it out. My shorts are all on there. But a single leg RDL with a knee drive is a great drill to do actually before a run, to both help with lateral hip stability, engaging the core, getting that ankle ready for unilateral stability while you're running. And it even helps with hip flexion. So we're also training a little bit of the function of the psoas, which helps stabilize the lumbar spine. So single leg RDL with knee drive, awesome drill. Isometric drills can be great, like an isometric split squat. That can be awesome to do as a drill, which helps with overall muscular endurance. It's very high stimulus, it's low fatigue. So it's going to burn a little bit, but you won't get super sore, which is awesome for your runs. And it's also going to help with creating that tendon resilience that we want, and also give you a little bit of strength in that hip internal rotation. All that means is we're getting also a little bit of stimulus to the adductors, which is what we want to see. And another upper body movement would be something like a single arm dumbbell rows. Single arm dumbbell rows are great because it uses the similar slings, which we're not going to get into body slings, but trains similar slings that are used in running. These anterior and posterior oblique slings, it helps strengthen the lats, and the lats help stabilize the lumbar spine. It helps challenge the core and anti-rotation, which we absolutely love. We're training that core. It helps train some rotation and movement around the scapula, so it gives you a little bit more of an efficient arm stride. I mean, these are things like that are so fundamental that I have every single one of my running athletes doing. So those three exercise or examples of things you can start adding in right now, today, to use in your strength training for your running. And you don't need to make it long. I mean, seriously, for runners, like your sessions don't have to be crazy long. They can be 20 minutes, a few times a week. They're going to make a world of difference. And I think when you can start adding them in and just making that little bit of time for it, you will be surprised at how helpful, how awesome these drills are going to be for you. So start strength training. It's freaking good. Sometimes I start talking and I balance in between, and you'll see this, you'll probably hear this in this episode. I'm like constantly teetering between thinking that I'm talking to coaches sometimes and wanting to go like into the weeds with things, and then really realizing that I'm talking to, basically my running clients right now, and having to make it so that it's actually digestible. And so I tend to be landing somewhere in the middle. So also please give me feedback if these things are confusing, or you're still confused, or you need me to make it a little bit more simple or digestible. Just let me know, because again, I'm like, I don't quite know sometimes where to land, and that's something that I need to get better at. So let me know how you guys heard this message. Few questions I got here on my story. One of them is, can I wash my laundry on your abs? And the answer is no, sir, you cannot. Honestly, you should see my boyfriends. They're way nicer than mine. You can wash their laundry on his. It'd be a little gay, but you can do it. We don't judge. How do you feel about this time change? I can't stand the time change. Okay, if you guys, you're hearing this on Wednesday, it is currently Monday. We have just experienced the horror that is the time change. And don't care if it's spring ahead or fall back. It's freaking stupid. I don't know why we still do it. I understand there's some parents who are like, I don't want my kids to stand outside in the dark waiting for the bus. Get over it. Not my problem. Stop this nonsense. This is terrible. The time change is terrible. I do not like it. I think I've gotten like an accumulated 10 hours of sleep over the past 2 days because of life plus time change. So, big F you to the time change. I'm not down for it. Next question. Any plans for a half or full marathon in the near future? I don't know if you will ever convince me to do, if anybody, not just you, Will is asking this question. What's up, Will? I don't know if anyone could ever convince me to run a full marathon, to be honest with you. I have no interest in running a marathon. I know it's a big trend right now. There's so many young people who are getting super into endurance training. And I'm in an endurance block because I enjoy it. I find that I'll be a better coach for my clients whenever I can, have some experience doing what they do. So I'm in an endurance block, but I don't really consider myself an endurance athlete. I lift, I run. I'm going to probably have a jiu-jitsu block later in the year where I go in jiu-jitsu block. I'm going to train a lot of jiu-jitsu and train for a tournament there. I'll probably go back into a strength sprint block. I'll have eventually probably a more narrowed focus in terms of something that I stick to for like a few years at a time. But right now, I just like to break it up by quarters. I just love lifting. I don't necessarily need to be the strongest, fastest, whatever human, but I feel like, I'm overall a fairly competent person and it's enjoyable for me. And so that's what we're going to do. And a full marathon doesn't sound enjoyable in the fucking slightest. So some 5Ks and some 10Ks for now. I could see myself maybe doing a half, but also at that rate, like if I'm doing a half, it's not like I might as well do the full. It's just like, if I'm gonna do a half, I'll just do a full and just die that way. And then call it a day and be like, I'll never do that again. Are bodybuilding splits good for combat sports? Sure. I mean, body part splits, it really depends on your training week, how much time you have, and what your week looks like. I don't see any problem with any training split for any kind of anything. It's just what you like and what your preference is and what you're able to do. But I will say I do find that for combat sports, time is a factor, and also just how often you're going in to train jiu-jitsu or MMA or Muay Thai or whatever it is. You're not going to want to also be in the gym 6 days a week doing lifts, and that's kind of usually the more body part bodybuilding splits are going to be that it's going to need you to be in there. It's going to necessitate that you, is that a word? Yeah, I think it is, that you are in the gym about 6 days a week. So I recommend more a full body or an upper lower split. Some people like push pull splits. Those are fine. And that way you can get a decent amount of training frequency, so you can be hitting every body part 2 to 3 times a week, which is awesome. And then also you're not in the gym 6 days a week. You're in the gym, 3 or 4 days a week, which just works better for most people, because you got a life and you also got a whole other sport outside of lifting that's going on. So that's my tips there. It's really all the questions I have. I do a terrible job at putting out the questions thing. I put it out like 2 hours before I film, and I should probably wait a little bit more time, but I'm not doing that. So those are the questions that we have, and those are the answers that I have. Thank you guys for listening. Hopefully this is helpful. If it was helpful, let me know. If it wasn't helpful, also let me know. If it was helpful, like, subscribe, share it with a friend. If you have a runner friend that you're like, you need to hear this, girl, go lift some weights, share it with them. And I'll see you guys next week on the podcast with Veronica. Until next time, mother effers, have a great week. Peace out.